Hi dear friends, let's paint this scene based on the breathtaking sunset hues of the California coast and bring it to life with delicate yet expressive watercolors. Before we dip our brushes into the palette, I would love to share the story behind today's painting. It began with an invitation from our dear friends for a kayaking adventure in Elkhorn Slough. Despite grappling with debilitating arthritis pain in my legs, I embraced the day, motivated by a desire for my young son to experience the wonder of this place, its charming otters, graceful pelicans, and the sheer diversity of the wildlife there. As we were getting ready to go home, it was the sunset that truly captivated me. I found myself in awe of the symphony of colors, the tranquil sounds, and the rich scents around me. At that moment, I was determined to carry the beauty back with me, to translate it onto a paper with watercolors. Now, as I present this painting to you, it's more than just sharing my work. It's an invitation to find your inspiration, to let the natural world move you to create. Whether it's through your own watercolor works or simply stepping outside to embrace the gifts of nature. I hope this piece encourages you to discover the wonders that await in your corner of the globe. To capture the warmth of the sunset on a peaceful October evening, I've selected a palette that resonates most authentically with the scene. Raw sienna and Indian yellow to reflect the soft golden light, cadmium-free red with a touch of cadmium-free red deep for the richer, more intense hues that streak the sky. To convey the vast, variegated blue of the sky, I'll be using cobalt blue and ultramarine blue, deepening to indigo for the twilight's depth. A dab of burnt umber will aid in achieving the deep shadows cast along the coastal landscape. These are the colors that I saw that day, and I hope they will help me depict the tranquility and beauty of the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. My surface for this painting was a sheet of cold-pressed 140-pound cotton watercolor paper, chosen for its texture that receives and interacts with watercolor well. I mounted it on a sturdy gator board, securing it with masking tape to keep it in place as I worked. As for brushes, I gathered a size 10 synthetic round brush, ideal for broad strokes, a small calligraphy brush to capture the fluidity of water and sky, a size 2 liner, and you will see me reaching for the size 1 small round brush later. This small brush will help me to capture the fine, telling details that bring a scene to life. In the initial stages of the painting, I decided against using the size 6 round brush, which has a white handle on it. Instead, I found that a larger brush better suited for broad sweeping strokes I wanted to achieve, laying down the watercolors with an atmosphere of ease. This approach helped me to keep the painting feeling open and uncluttered by the smaller, more meticulous lines that can often make a work feel overworked right from the start. In addition, I used 2 jars of clean water on top of a small towel, a 3B pencil with which I sketched impressions of the distant pieces of land, and a boat. You'll see me do it after I apply the first wash. And of course, my porcelain-covered metal palette with an additional 3 porcelain plates stood by its side, ready to hold plenty of clean pigments, ensuring the continuous painting process so important in the initial stages when I layered the first wash. In the first cup, I added plenty of ultramarine blue with a touch of cobalt blue. I also pre-wetted indigo to be ready for use. The second cup held raw sienna, a warm earthy tone for the warmer parts of the sky and reflection. In the third, I've premixed cadmium-free red with a dab of cadmium-free red deep to achieve a vibrant glowing hue that would capture the intensity of the sunset. I feel like I've shared with you before how my painting journey isn't always a straight path to nice work. I often make several attempts to reach a result that I'm happy with. This time the experience was no different. When I started to pre-wet the watercolor paper, I misjudged the amount of water I was applying. As you'll observe, there was too much water, causing the colors to blend too rapidly. This resulted in unintended mixes where blues and yellows merged, giving me unwanted areas of green in the sky, and the reds bled excessively downwards. These are the moments that test and shape us as artists, reminding us that control in watercolor is a delicate thing. I decided to start over, and it wasn't easy, but there was a silver lining. I learned from my initial try, which paved the way for the second painting that I really enjoyed. This time around, I was more cautious with how much water I applied to the paper, making sure it wasn't too wet by picking up any excess with my brush. I spent a good few minutes just observing the paper, gauging its readiness for paint, a crucial step that can really differ depending on your surroundings. For those of you in drier climates, the paper might dry quicker, while it could stay wet longer in more humid conditions. It definitely took me some practice to get a feel for the right timing to introduce the pigments on the watercolor paper surfaces, depending on the effects I want to achieve. When the paper was evenly damp with just the right sheen, it was time to begin. I started with the sky using a brush soaked with ultramarine and cobalt blue, painting in bold, confident strokes. At the top of the sky, I introduced deeper swaths of ultramarine to add depth and dimension. Careful to avoid creating green when I didn't want it, I left a small buffer of white before brushing in raw sienna to represent the lighter hues near the horizon. As the raw sienna gently expanded on the damp paper, I threaded through strokes of cadmium-free reds where the sun's colors were most vivid, mindful to leave space to prevent unwanted blending. To the right side of the canvas, I placed sweeps of bright Indian yellow, a nod to the sun's lingering warmth as it whispered its goodbyes to the day. As I reached the lower portion of the painting, I selected a deep blend of ultramarine, cobalt blue, and indigo, capturing the encroaching embrace of twilight as it settled over the waters of Elkhorn Slough. Here, the coolness of the impending night was represented by the transition of colors, suggesting the gentle hush as day gives way to evening. With each stroke, I allowed the colors to interact organically, representing the pace at which water and pigment merged. This meditative process, this careful symphony of colors, mirrors the day's serene descent into the night. As you observe, my technique here involves gently tilting the board, guiding the pigments as they meander and merge, crafting those seamless gradients that give life to the sky and water. If I were to manipulate them with my brush at this stage, the risk of creating muddy colors would be too high. This is a moment for patience, a moment to step back and allow the watercolors to perform their spontaneous dance across the paper. It's this very quality, their capacity to surprise and delight with natural transitions, that makes us fall in love with watercolors again and again. It's the medium's gift, creating wonders with minimal interventions from our part, wonders that unfold right before our eyes. Once the initial wash was settled and dried, I prepared to infuse the sunset with a deeper vitality. I carefully moistened the paper along the horizon line, and the sensitive approach ensures that the new layer of pigment enhance rather than overpower. With gentle strokes, I introduce more of the cadmium-free reds, enriching the sunset's warmth and vibrancy, capturing that fierce glow that only nature can paint in the sky. From now on, layer by layer, we will be building the atmosphere that echoes the quiet energy of a day's end. With the first layers complete and the paper thoroughly dry, it's time to gently suggest the distant coastal landscape. There is a subtle dance in depicting the boats and kayaks that stay docked, swaying quietly on the water. A solitary boat meanders through the bay, its occupants captivated by the same sunset that inspired me. In this phase, pencil outlines are mere hints on the paper, guiding rather than dictating the painting direction. I keep these marks light and loose. They are not the focal point, but the silent guides that help navigate the painting's journey. As we add these details, the scene begins to come alive, each element a soft echo of Elkhorn Sloth's tranquil beauty. In laying down the second layer, I'm etching out the horizon with subtle, thin strokes. I feel like the transition between the sky and the ocean that day was soft, marked by a delicate shift in value. With a diluted mix of cobalt blue, I apply whisper-thin layers to hint at a far-off sea. Gradually, as my brushwork inches towards the foreground, the strokes grow in confidence, wider and more pronounced. Here the pigment declares its presence with greater intensity, encapsulating the vibrancy of the waters closer to us. This step is all about balance, giving just enough detail to draw you in and make you feel the calm of the waterfront as day turns to dusk. As I deepen the colors of our scene, I infuse the foreground with the bolder expression of cobalt blue, harmonizing it with strokes of ultramarine for depth. Soon you'll notice me gravitate towards indigo, introducing it as we edge closer to the foreground. This is where the hues become more intense, more powerful, mirroring the depth, bringing the full mood of evening to life. To take a pause, allowing the foreground to settle, gently with a clean brush, I work on softening any hard edges, ensuring a seamless transition between hues. To gauge the right moment for the next layer, I lightly touch the paper with the back of my hand, feeling for a hint of coolness. If I feel slight coolness, it means the paper is still damp, and we need to wait some more to let it dry fully before applying the next layer. While the paper dried, I turned my attention to the coastal terrain that needed to reflect the evening's mood. I realized that burnt umber might be too strong in the mix, so I experimented with a blend of cadmium-free red zib and ultramarine blue. This mix looked more harmonious and resonated with the rest of the painting's palette, capturing the subtle play of light that evening. Observing the scene that evening provided a perspective that even the best photographs couldn't capture. As the light from the setting sun began to soften, I noticed how the horizon almost swallowed up the shapes of the land, blending them with the sky. Yet closer objects created strong silhouettes against the vibrant backdrop, but not without color, something that often gets lost in photos, which tend to render everything as stark contrasts. This observation is a reminder of the power of personal experience in art. While the camera sees in obsoletes, the human eye and mind perceive subtleties. This is what makes paintings from real life so special. You are not just copying a scene, you are bringing out the hidden hues that a regular photo will miss. It's about feeling the scene and letting it flow through you onto the paper. And for me, this isn't just about getting the colors right, it's deeper. Each stroke is a moment of peace, a break from the chronic pain that's part of my life. It's like the sunset's glow has a way of saying, take a breath, I got you. This isn't just a paint on paper, it's a slice of comfort, a reminder that no matter what, there's still this incredible beauty out there that makes you forget the tough stuff, even if just for a while. It's time to tackle the midground, where the land seems to stand in stark contrast against the sky's vivid sunset colors. This landmass was mostly in shadow, but here and there the upper sides of buildings caught stray beams of sunlight and little sparkles of light glimmered across the scene. For these darker areas, I'm mixing ultramarine blue, cadmium-free red deep, indigo, and a touch of cobalt blue. I'm careful not to overblend this on the palette, because when I lay these colors down with my brush, I want that beautiful variation, the slight shifts in tone and color that give the painting life and depth. Here you could see my brushwork becomes a bit more energetic, small, and random. This is my way of suggesting the bustling coastal scene. With these strokes, I'm hinting at the clustered buildings, the lush vegetation, boats tied up along the docks, and the occasional poles standing tall. It's about capturing the essence of the place without getting bogged down in details. As I work on this area, I occasionally add a bit of yellow with the blues on my palette. This creates a deep, dark green, perfect for suggesting the distant vegetation as it settles into the evening. These are just hints here and there to represent the plant life, without overpowering the subtle onset of nighttime. Moving into the final stretch of the painting, I wanted to give a bit more definition to the foreground, so I brought in some additional strokes of deep blues to suggest the lack of sunlight in the shadow areas of Elkhorn Slough. Once that was said, it was time to give a little attention to a key player in this tranquil scene, the solitary boat on the waters. It's a small but poignant detail, the boat and its passengers quietly captivated by the day's last display of colors. It's these subtle touches that can bring a sense of story and life to a painting. You see me switch to the smallest round brush here. This fine tool helped me add those delicate details that would draw the eye to our focal point, the lone boat and its passengers, silently taking in the sunset splendor. And with these final touches, we wrap up our journey through the Pacific Sunset painting. I am truly thankful for the time I spent in Moss Landing, California. These were deeply inspiring moments that gave me hope and strength to keep moving forward and creating pieces like this. This work reminds us of the profound beauty that our world holds. Beauty that can give us hope, strength, and solace in everyday life. Before I go, I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of you who joined me for this lesson. Your support and enthusiasm make this all possible. And if you enjoyed this experience and would like to explore more scenes and watercolor painting techniques together, I warmly invite you to watch my other lessons. Your likes, comments, and shares not only encourage me, but help our community grow. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and clicking the like button for this video. It's a simple yet powerful way to support the channel and ensure you don't miss out on future lessons. Thank you, my dear friends, for being an integral part of this journey, and I will see you in my next watercolor lesson. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Keep creating and keep your horizons wide.